I thought I was alone in the sauna. But my stepfather was already inside. Like, subscribe, and comment. Would you have walked away, or stayed like I did? My name's Alina, I'm 25, and I live with my mom and her new husband, Victor. He's older, serious, quiet, but something about him always made my skin tingle. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was just in my head. Until that night. My mom had gone out of town for the weekend, and I thought I had the house and the sauna all to myself. I grabbed a towel, wrapped my hair up, and headed outside. The door creaked open, steam rushed into my face, and then I saw him. Sitting in the corner, shirtless, glistening with sweat, his eyes already on me. Didn't think anyone else was coming, he said calmly, not even trying to cover up. I froze. My heart pounded. I should have walked away. I didn't. I thought you were done, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He tilted his head, his gaze slow and deliberate. Still room in here, if you don't mind the heat. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the way he looked at me like he already knew I wouldn't leave. I stepped in, closed the door, and sat across from him, the steam wrapping around us like a secret. Neither of us said a word. But the tension, it was unbearable. And when he asked, "Want me to pour a little more heat?" I didn't just say yes. I leaned forward and whispered, "Do it." He grabbed the ladle slowly, his eyes never leaving mine, and poured water over the hot stones. The hiss filled the room as a thick wave of steam rolled between us, making the air so heavy it felt like breathing each other in. I shifted on the wooden bench, my towel clinging to damp skin, and I saw the way his jaw clenched. His eyes dropped for just a second, to my legs, my chest, then back to my face. "You sure you're comfortable?" he asked, voice deeper, rougher. "Not really," I said, leaning back just slightly, letting the towel slip down my shoulder, "but I'm not planning to leave." He didn't move toward me. He didn't have to. His presence already covered me like heat itself. "This is wrong," he said after a pause. "I know," I whispered, "but we're still here." I stood up slowly, the towel barely holding on, and walked toward him. Step by step. When I stopped in front of him, I reached down, took his hand, and gently placed it on my hip. "Tell me to go," I whispered. He looked up at me, eyes burning. "I can't," he breathed. That's all I needed. The towel dropped to the floor. I climbed onto his lap without hesitation, my arms around his neck, his hands already exploring what he'd clearly wanted for a long time. The sauna turned into something else entirely. Not just heat. Not just sweat. It was tension finally breaking. A storm we'd both held back too long. And when it was over, I didn't leave. I stayed, curled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "What now?" I asked quietly. He kissed my forehead and said, "Tomorrow. Same time." I smiled. "I'll be early." The next day felt like a blur. We barely spoke in the house, just passing glances, a subtle brush of his hand against mine in the hallway, a soft smirk when no one else was looking. My mom called that afternoon to say she'd be staying one more night. I caught his eyes the moment I hung up. Neither of us said anything, but we both knew what that meant. By the time the sun began to set, I was already getting ready. I chose a towel that barely covered anything, let my hair fall loose, and didn't bother with anything underneath. When I stepped outside, the cool air kissed my skin, but I knew I wouldn't stay cold for long. The sauna light was on. He was already there. I opened the door slowly, the steam hit me like a wall, and there he was, sitting in the exact same spot, like he'd been waiting all day. "I thought you'd come early," he said, his voice low and familiar. "I did," I whispered, stepping inside and closing the door behind me. This time, I didn't sit across from him. I walked straight to where he was, dropped my towel without a word, and lowered myself onto his lap. He caught me instantly, his hands strong on my waist, his lips brushing my neck. "I've thought about this all day," he murmured. "Then show me," I whispered. And he did. It was slower this time, deeper, like neither of us wanted it to end. The steam surrounded us again, but it wasn't just heat, it was ours now. Our space. Our secret. Afterward, I lay across the bench, breathing heavy, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my thigh. "If Mom comes back tomorrow," I began. "Then tonight," he said, "I want every second." I looked at him, heart racing. "Then don't waste a single one." He didn't. That night, after we left the sauna, we didn't even make it back to our own rooms. He pulled me into the guest bedroom, the one no one ever used, and locked the door behind us. No words. Just hands, mouths, and the kind of closeness that felt like we were making up for all the years we'd pretended not to feel it. I fell asleep tangled in his arms, his breath warm against my shoulder, his hand resting protectively on my waist. But morning came too fast. Sunlight spilled into the room, and reality followed close behind. I woke up to the sound of a car door slamming outside. I shot up, heart pounding. "She's home," I whispered. His eyes opened slowly. No panic. Just a calm nod. "We'll be careful," he said. I rushed back to my room, threw on something casual, and pretended I'd just gotten up. Mom walked in, carrying bags, all smiles, completely unaware. She asked about the house, about dinner, about Victor. I played my part. So did he. But the way he looked at me over her shoulder, the way his fingers brushed mine as we passed in the hallway, nothing had changed. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway made my heart skip. And then, a knock. Soft. Barely there. I opened my door. He stood in the dark, shirtless, barefoot, eyes locked on mine. He didn't say a word. I stepped aside. He came in. Quiet. Focused. This time, there was no rush, no noise, no hesitation. Just slow, breathless silence. And in the dark, as he whispered my name against my neck, I realized something terrifying. I didn't just want him. I was falling for him. Completely. The next morning, everything felt heavier. Not with guilt, we were far past that, but with something deeper. Something we didn't dare speak out loud. I watched him at the breakfast table, sitting next to my mom, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. Like his hands weren't on my skin just hours ago. Like he didn't whisper my name while I arched under him in the dark. I played along, smiled at her stories, nodded at his quiet comments, but every second felt like I was balancing on the edge of something dangerous. And I loved it. When she stepped out to take a phone call, he finally looked at me. Really looked. Eyes sharp, burning, hungry, even here, even now. Then he mouthed just 2 words, "Tonight again?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The look in my eyes told him everything. That night, the rain started. Soft at first, then harder, tapping against the windows like it was trying to warn us. I waited. My door cracked open just after midnight. No knock this time. He came in silently, shirt wet from outside, eyes darker than ever. I pulled him into the room, slammed the door, and locked it without a word. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. We just moved. It was desperate, full of everything we weren't saying. The rain covered our sounds, but nothing could hide the way I clung to him like I was afraid he'd disappear. When it was over, I laid on his chest, fingers tracing across his skin. "This can't stay a secret forever," I whispered. He nodded. "I know." "So what happens next?" I asked. He looked down at me and said the one thing I didn't expect. "What if I chose you?" My breath caught. My heart stopped. Because deep down, I wanted him to. I stared at him, frozen, barely able to breathe. "What if I chose you?" The words echoed in my mind louder than the rain outside. I sat up slowly, the blanket slipping down my back. "You'd leave her?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He sat up too, brushing his fingers along my spine. "If you said yes," he murmured, "I'd walk away from everything. Tonight. Tomorrow. Whenever you want me to." I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see just my stepfather. I saw a man. A man who wanted me enough to destroy his own life just to start a new one with me. "You mean that?" I asked. "Every word," he said. "No more hiding. No more secret doors, no more nights in silence. Just you and me." I swallowed hard, my heart racing. "Then let's do it," I said. "Let's stop pretending. Let's leave." A silence fell between us, not of fear, but of clarity. We both knew it was real now. No more games. No more stolen moments in the dark. He stood up, grabbed his shirt, and turned to me. "Pack a bag," he said. "We'll leave at sunrise." That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the sky turn from black to purple to pale blue. I watched his chest rise and fall beside me, steady, strong. And when the first light crept through the window, he opened his eyes and smiled. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded. "Let's go." We slipped out quietly. No noise. No goodbye. Just one final glance at the house we left behind, and a future we were about to claim. Together. We drove for hours with the windows down, wind in our hair, no destination, just distance. Every mile between us and that house felt like a weight lifting off my chest. He reached over, laced his fingers through mine, and I held on tighter than ever. Somewhere far from the city, we found a quiet little cabin tucked into the woods. It had a porch, an old wooden sauna out back, and a bed we didn't leave for 2 days. No alarms. No fear. Just us. His hands weren't in a rush anymore. His voice wasn't a whisper. He didn't call me kid or your mom's daughter. He called me mine. And I was. One night, as we lay wrapped in each other beneath the soft hum of the fan, I looked at him and asked, "Do you ever think about what we left behind?" He kissed my shoulder, then said calmly, "Only when I want to remind myself how lucky I am to have what's in front of me now." I smiled, pulled his hand to my chest, and whispered, "Then don't ever let me go." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. His mouth found mine again, slow and deep, and that night, just like the first time in the sauna, I melted under him completely. But now, it wasn't secret. It wasn't wrong. It was just love. Bold. Reckless. Untouchable. And entirely ours.